Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz. This is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Monday, July 22nd, 2024. And if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my daily rundown best bet in the MLB, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. And don't forget to check out those Christmas in July yearly packages as well. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for the Monday card in Major League Baseball. First up, the lone afternoon game for the Monday card is the Tampa Bay Rays and the New York Yankees, the final game of this four-game series. Zach Littell and Carlos Rodon are your projected starters. This is a tough one for me because we know the Yankees have not played too well in this series, especially the last couple of games. And, Rodon's been shaky recently to end the first half of the season. Now his ERA is at 4.6 on the year, but Zach Littell's also not been great on the road this year with an ERA above 5, and we saw his last road game was against the Rangers back on July 7th. He gave up in 4 innings, 7 earned runs, and a home run. This is a tough one. I'm going to lean towards the Yankees. The Rays used quite a lot of their bullpen in that game on Sunday. Now, pretty much everybody should be available in terms of not having to pitch on back-to-back days, but still, guys like Fairbanks, 23 pitches. Jason Adam had 25 as well in a rocky inning. So, for me, I'm going to give the edge to the Yankees in what should be a close one, probably a higher scoring game, but I'll go with the Yankees on the money line. Next up, we see the Detroit Tigers taking on the Cleveland Guardians. Tarik Skubal and Carlos Carrasco are your starters. For me, this is a lopsided pitching matchup, and the Guardians had a pretty lackluster performance against San Diego this weekend, and the final 2 games especially, where they really didn't do much of anything against Dylan Cease or Michael King. And I know those are both righties, and they're facing a lefty here, but Skubal's been one of the best pitchers right now, the favorite to win the AL Cy Young, and for good reason. 10-3 record, great ERA, strikeout numbers are there. Carrasco, an ERA above 5 on the season. I got to go with Detroit on the money line in this one. Next up, we see the New York Mets taking on the Miami Marlins. David Peterson and Yonny Chirinos are your starters. David Peterson's expected numbers may not be the best, but he's really been a winning machine for the Mets this year. They only lost one of his starts. It was his season debut against the Dodgers. Since then, 7 straight victories when Peterson is on the mound, and that includes a win over these Miami Marlins earlier in the year. And I know the Marlins were able to get to him for a few runs in that start, but the Marlins have not been great against left-handed pitching this season or in the last 30 days. I don't really love Yonny Chirinos on the other side, who his last start of the first half gave up 7 earned runs and 3 home runs to the Cincinnati Reds and 4 walks to go with it. I got to go with the Mets in this one, the money line and run line. Next up, we see the St. Louis Cardinals taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Andre Pallante and Mitch Keller are your starters. Mitch Keller's not fared too well against St. Louis this season. He's had 2 starts against them, one of those at home at PNC Park, the other one at Busch Stadium, and in a combined 11 innings, he's given up 17 base hits, 9 earned runs, 10 total runs, and 4 bombs. And when you look at Andre Pallante, he had a start against these Pirates on the 4th of July. It was one of his best starts of the season, 7 innings of 1-run ball in a 3-2 Cardinals win. So for me, I got to go with the St. Louis Cardinals in this game on the money line on the road, getting a really good price as well. Next up, we see the Cincinnati Reds taking on the Atlanta Braves. Hunter Greene and Reynaldo Lopez are your starters. Hunter Greene struggled in that All-Star game, but he was pitching really well to end the first half of the season. And when you look at these 2 lineups in the last month, it's actually the Cincinnati Reds that have been superior against right-handed pitching. They're top 5 in team OPS against righties in the last 30 days with a rather low strikeout rate for a team like this. This is a team that has struggled with striking out quite a bit in recent years, but they've got that below 24%, so it's a step in the right direction. Number 1 in isolated power in the last month against righties, so I've mentioned the regression concerns from Reynaldo Lopez, and we saw in his last start of the first half against San Diego, he wasn't great now and gave him 11 base hits and 6 innings of work. San Diego wasn't able to really make him pay in that game, but it was still enough for a Padres win in the end. And I like the Reds to find a win in this game. You can take them in the first 5 innings if you don't love that bullpen, but I'm going to go with Cincinnati in the full game as well. Next up, we see the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the Minnesota Twins. Ranger Suarez and Bailey Ober are your starters. We know it was a really disappointing weekend series for the Twins, where they lost a couple of close games. They won an extra innings on Saturday. The 8-7 really back-and-forth offensive showdown on Sunday. But I still think this is a Twins team that you don't want to give up on. I mean, when you look at this lineup, they've been solid against righties and lefties in the last month. Their starting rotation still on paper, to me, is one of the better starting rotations in baseball. And Bailey Ober is in good form. He ended the first half with 5 straight starts where he gave up 3 earned runs or fewer and 6+ innings. So all quality starts. His strikeout numbers were there. He's pitched well at Target Field this season. Then you look on the other side of Ranger Suarez. by far and for quite a while, he had the best record in ERA in all of Major League Baseball in terms of starting pitching. But his last few starts of the first half of the season were not great. He gave up 4 or more runs in the final 3 games against the Marlins, Braves, and Oakland Athletics. 2 of those teams not necessarily known as offensive powerhouses. So you got the Twins here who have done pretty well against lefties in the last month, and Suarez, who was one of the most profitable pitchers in baseball. Now the Phillies are 1-4 in its last 5 starts. I got to go with the Twins in this game on the money line. Next up, we see the Chicago White Sox taking on the Texas Rangers. Eric Fedde and Michael Lorenzen are your starters. Fedde's had an excellent season this year. Now a sub-3 ERA at 2.99. And, while the Rangers are a tough lineup and a team that's improving, I still think Fedde can keep the White Sox competitive at least through the first half of this game. I like Chicago plus a half a run in the first 5 innings. Lorenzen's got big-time regression concerns. The control's always a concern as he does walk a lot of batters. We saw 4 or more in his last 3 games of the first half of the season. I think the White Sox can find a few runs on him and at least cover this run line in the first 5 innings, but I'd also be interested in taking him in the full game on the money line or plus the 1.5 runs as well. Next up, we see the NL Central matchup between the Brewers and the Cubs. We got Tobias Myers and Javier Assad as the starters. The Brewers, they had a few clutch moments this weekend series against the Twins offensively to sweep that 2-game series. And now they go on the road here against the Cubs. I like their chances in this first game at least. Myers, I've mentioned the regression concerns a bit. The expected number's not the best, but he still pitched really well overall this season. I mean, his last game of the first half was 8 innings of shutout ball against the Pirates in a 9-0 win. And that was a Pirates team that, going into that game, hit the ball pretty well against right-handed pitching in July at that point. So for me, I think Myers pitches well here against Chicago. I don't really love Javier Assad. He has decent numbers on paper overall this year, but not the best. He's not really in great form right now. His last 2 starts of the first half, he went 6 2/3, 14 base hits, 7 earned runs, and 4 bombs. And the Cubs have now lost 4 of his last 5 starts. I got to go with the Brewers in this game on the money line. Next up, we see the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the Kansas City Royals. We're going to see Yolbert Diaz and Cole Ragans as your starters. I think Yolbert Diaz has pitched well so far, but I do think he's been rather fortunate, and I do expect some regression going forward, especially your first road game against a really tough lineup like the Royals, who have played so well at Kauffman Stadium this year. You got Cole Ragans on the other side, and the Royals, they took care of business this weekend. They really needed to. I mean, the Guardians lost the last couple of games in that series against San Diego, so KC was able to pick up a few games in the AL Central standings by beating the White Sox, and I think they grab a win here. I think Ragans pitches well, and I think the Royals get to Yolbert for a few runs. Don't love that Diamondbacks bullpen, so give me KC on the money line and run line at home. Next up, the Boston Red Sox taking on the Colorado Rockies. Tanner Houck and Austin Gomber are your starters. I think it's a good spot for Colorado to at least compete in this game and cover the run line, if not earn the outright W. Houck has pitched well on the road this year, but not necessarily at Coors Field. He struggles at Fenway Park because sometimes he does give up some sharp contact, and Fenway is known to be a hitter-friendly ballpark. And now you're at Coors Field. You got a lefty on the other side for the Rockies. The Red Sox have not been great against lefties this year, and in the last month, that strikeout rate is through the roof. For me, I think the value is certainly there for the Rockies on the money line, or if you want to take the 1.5 runs on the run line. But give me Colorado in this one. Next up, we see the Los Angeles Angels taking on the Seattle Mariners. Tyler Anderson and Bryce Miller are your starters. It's not easy backing the Mariners, especially on the run line right now with how weak their offense has been. You don't really know how many runs you're going to get from Seattle, if any, in each game. But this is a solid matchup for them because they already got Tyler Anderson before the All-Star break. They had 4 runs and 2 home runs against him. And Seattle just in general hits lefties better than righties, at least in the last month. They've been right around actually above league average against lefties, well below league average against righties. So I actually like this matchup for the Mariners against Anderson and the Angels bullpen. Miller, he's been a lot better at home this year, and I think he's good enough for a Mariners win and run line cover. So give me Seattle in this one, laying the 1.5 runs. Next up, we see the Houston Astros taking on the Oakland Athletics. Spencer Arrighetti and Hogan Harris are your starters. Now, Harris did pitch pretty well against these Astros on May 16th, and overall he's pitched well this year with a 3.4 ERA, but he does have regression concerns with expected ERA above 5, and the Astros are still a team that I like backing when they're facing a left-handed starter. Arrighetti bounced back after his rough start in Toronto. I think he's still a good option for the Astros in the rotation. I like Houston in this game on the run line on the road. And the final game for the Monday card in Major League Baseball, the San Francisco Giants taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers. Blake Snell for the Giants, no official starter for LA. Blake Snell, his last couple of starts of the first half of the season were excellent. We know he had his early season struggles. That ERA at 6.31 looks rough on paper, but We're used to seeing this from Snell. He's a slow starter. I remember reading in the beginning of the year when he struggled, oh, it's the biggest bust of the year. What a mistake the Giants made by picking up Snell, as if he doesn't do this almost every season. I mean, even in his Cy Young winning season last year, he was not the best at the beginning of the year. His first few starts, he had a 5.3 ERA in the first month. So now, we see him racking up the strikeouts. The control's been a lot better. He pitched really well against the Dodgers last year, had 4 starts against them. I believe he had 3 of the 4 as quality starts. The Giants, I do expect some sluggish bats because they're coming off the Coors Field series and no days off in between, but I still like San Francisco to win this game in the end. This Dodgers bullpen's not been great recently, ERA or expected number-wise, and I would lean towards San Francisco and the under in this one. And that's it. Those are the games for Monday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Put those baseball picks in the comments section below. And again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Romanelli. Good luck.